What's up, everybody? This is Johnny Basement, and we are back here in the basement for what? The final four AFL teams. We're here. We are here. We made it, the final four teams. The season kicks off March 16th between the Richmond Tigers and the Carlton Blues. So we got a little time here. I got it down to four teams. Four teams. Who are they? Before we get into that, please subscribe, hit the bell notice, the like button, drop comments down below. The fun thing about this today is I'm new to the sport. You guys know I'm only a handful of months into this thing. If that. So I broke these teams down. I've looked into each and every team, and I found the ones that I actually like. Remember I said there was 5 final teams. There was 5. I'll tell you the 5th team and why I exited the 5th team out. I'll tell you right off the bat in a second. So we are going to do this Final Four team. All right, this has been fun, exciting, but what's going to make it great in the comments from you guys is when you hear the Final Fours, give me reasons, sell me on why I should pick one of your teams. Even if you're not a fan of one of these 4 teams, tell me why I should. Tell me why I should. Don't tell me which team I should have picked or that's not in the Final Four, because I've done a lot of work to get it to this Final Four. So these are the only 4 teams I'm considering. So please sell me your team, because I'm not picking the team on here today. We're doing the 4 teams. And these 4 teams, by the way, is no specific order. The team I named first and the team I named last doesn't mean that it's in that order. I got to pick a team to start with, and I got to pick a team to finish with. So it has no bearing on number 1 to number 4, okay? That has no bearing, all right? Now, who was the first team that exited out of this? And this was hard for me. This one really was hard for me because I like a lot about what I see from this team. So it was really, really hard for me to exit this team out. And I'm going to tell you why I exited this team out. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this team because they're not part of the Final Four. They're not part of the Final Four. So who was that? It was the Geelong Cats. The Geelong Cats! They were the 5th team. They were the 5th team. Well, they were part of the 5 teams. The reason why I am not choosing the Geelong Cats, why they can't be in this. One reason. They just won the championship. They just won the grand final. Anybody, if you're a diehard fan of sport, and you guys are diehards when it comes to this game. Diehards. I am of the 4 teams that I love, the Yankees, the Knicks, the Rangers, the Jets. Right? You introduce a fan to one of my teams, one of my sports, the last thing you want to hear is a new fan coming in that knows a little bit like I do. I know a little bit more than I used to know. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be when it comes to the knowledge of this game. The last thing you want to do is, you're a Yankee fan. Let me go in. Who won the World Series? Oh, the Houston Astros won the World Series. It looks like they've won previously and recently. So let me pick them. Or let me pick the Golden State Warriors in the NBA because they just won. See what I mean? That's cheesy. I can't pick the team that just won the final. It looks bandwagonish. It looks like I'm hopping on a bandwagon. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. Me being a diehard sports fan, I don't want to look like a bandwagoner. I don't want to look like a bandwagoner. I really don't. So the Geelong Cats were exited or X'd for that reason. The only reason, because I really wanted them in my Final Four. It was really hard for me to X them out because I like a lot of what I see from that team. I like a lot of their fan base. I know people, you know what I'm talking about. I know people that like the Geelong Cats, and a few of you have tried to sell me on them already. It's the only reason, guys. I can't hop on it. You got to respect that. I can't hop on a team that just won the finals. I can't do that. So anyway, enough on that. Let's get to the Final Four teams. Who are they? Now, you know I take notes. I take tons of notes. Can I sit up here and memorize them all? No, of course not. So again, remember, this is not in any specific order. The team I'm naming now doesn't mean that I'm picking them or they're my favorite and all that. So anyway, let's move on. We already discussed that. Hawthorn Hawks. Hawthorn Hawks, founded in 1902. By the way, the year these teams are founded doesn't really factor in, okay? It doesn't really factor in. I just like to throw it out there. The team's been around an extremely long time and has such an incredible history. Especially from 2008 to 2016. They have 13 premiership cups. They've won the grand final 13 times. And most impressively, years 13, 14, and 15, they dominated. They've had legends on the team like Cyril Rioli and Luke Hodge, and of course, the immortal Buddy Franklin. How they ever let that guy go to the Sydney Swans or anywhere else off the Hawks is beyond me. It's beside me. From things I've seen on Buddy Franklin, it's kind of like when the Edmonton Oilers let Wayne Gretzky go to the LA Kings in his prime. Like, how did that happen? Like, how did that happen? I only say because Buddy Franklin is so revered so highly as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, that's ever played the game. So equivalent-wise, I'm just looking at how, like, an Oiler team could let Wayne Gretzky go, like, in their prime. Like, how does that happen? Who knows? Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the Hawthorne Hawks. 13 Premiership Cups. The most recent, 13, 14, 15. Back-to-back-to-back championships. They've been done once before in 01, 2, and 3 by the Lions. So, the only club, now I love this stat on the Hawks. I love this stat. They're the only AFL, VFL, AFL, right? It changed over in 1990. Boom, I nailed that. Who does their homework? Anyway, oh man, my parents would love to hear me doing my homework back in high school. I never did it. Anyway, that story's not for here either. The Hawks are the only team to win a Premiership Cup in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. They're the only team to have a cup in each one of those decades. That is impressive. That's a team that knows how to win. Now, recently, they haven't done much. They've been on a little bit of a downslide recently. 2022 ladder, they finished 13th at 8-14. 8-14 with 0 draws. 8-14. Not a very impressive record, right? But does that matter to me? No. You'll see through my Final Four teams that some were in the ladder, top 8, and some weren't. That doesn't matter to me either. It doesn't matter to me either when you have a team like the Hawks that show traditionally that even when they're down, it's for a second and they get right back up and back in that finals in the top 8. So that doesn't necessarily factor in that they finished 13th on the ladder at 8-14. Doesn't really factor in that badly. And they had the best young player in Jay Newcomb. Jay Newcomb was the best young player nominated in 2022. So that was good. And their colors also, guys, their colors are brown and gold. Now, what's interesting about brown and gold and colors in general is when I've introduced people to the NFL, didn't know any players, didn't know much about it, saw a game here or there, maybe watch playoffs where it's most exciting time for any sport when you're watching playoff games because it's, sudden death. It's elimination. Most people, now the colors of the jerseys to me don't matter. But to a brand new fan that walks into a sport, a lot of people pick like an NFL team. They'll pick it because of the helmet. Who has the coolest looking helmet? That is a thing. There are people that do that. They'll pick the color of the Guernsey or the jersey or a helmet. Like the silver and black, Vegas Raiders, Oakland Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders, back to Oakland Raiders, then down to Vegas Raiders. That's how much the Raiders will move around. But the silver and black is the most fearsome, awesome color helmet in the NFL. It's well known. Their fan base is psychotic. If you've never seen highlights of the Raiders fan base, they're all out there in Darth Vader's and the Road Warrior outfits like from the WWF days. I know it's WWE now, I'm just saying. They all look like mutants and out of Mad Max movies. They look like people that could be in the Road Warrior Mad Max movies, right? So that is, a lot of people have picked the Raiders. I didn't know anything about football because their colors are mean. So anyway, the Hawks are brown and gold, and they had an interesting one. I'm going to do a piece on this because I found it interesting when I was looking at the Hawks. The line in the sand game, 2004, round 11, 5-minute brawl broke out between them and, it was in round 11. I wanted to make sure I was saying that right. In 04, 5-minute brawl. 27 charges were brought in front of the AFL tribunal. 27 charges. 4 players suspended. I'm going to do a piece on that. I don't know too much about it. I did it when I was looking through the Hawks' history. So I saw that, but I want to do a separate piece on that. That's not for here. We're doing Final Four teams. So, Hawthorne Hawks are a part of the Final Four. I like the history on the Hawks. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Who's next? Who's next? Essendon Bombers! The Essendon Bombers are next. Essendon Bombers. This is an interesting team. The Essendon Bombers have been around since 1872, almost one of the original teams, right? The league was founded in 1858, if I recall correctly. But we're in the basement, so I can be wrong. You don't get any lower in the basement. 1872 they were found. They have 16 Premiership Cups. 16 Premiership Cups. The last one they got was in 2000. The last one was in 2000. In 2022, they finished 15th on the ladder at 7 and 15. 7 and 15, 15th on the ladder. But they usually are a perennial pretty good team. They have a good history, except for can't talk about Essendon without talking about the supplemental scandal, right? Can't do it. Can't do it without talking about the supplemental scandal. Distribution of peptides in 2013. Now, the league investigated the Essendon club. Now, this is a very, very short of what I'm sure is a long, drawn-out, detailed incident, right? I'm giving you the very short of long, just snippets. So people said, hey, you left this out, left that out. I'm sure there's a lot of things in this investigation I left out. This video is not for an investigation on the Essendon Bombers, but it has to be a part of the conversation. So what I'm telling you is just the snippets of a huge story, just the snippets. But what the AFL found, and I quote, the Essendon Bombers established a supplement program that was experimental, inappropriate, and inadequately, basement, remember we're in the basement, inadequately vetted and controlled. So established a supplement program that was experimental, inappropriate, inadequately vetted, and controlled. End quote. End quote. They were found guilty of that. What does that mean? They're handing out performance-enhancing drugs, peptides. The punishments, and I want to get these right. The punishments. They were fined $2 million. They were stripped of their early draft picks in the next 2 rounds. Stripped of their early draft picks in the next 2 rounds. That's huge. Your early draft picks are stripped. Now, some people say, who cares, just a draft. Like when you trade players, hey, we want that established veteran. Here, take some draft picks. Well, where do these superstars like Buddy Franklin and Cyril Rioli and Lawrence Taylor of the NFL and guys, legends, Tom Brady, people like that, where do they come from? John Coleman, right? Where do they come from? A draft. A draft. Not every draft pick's a bomb, and sometimes when we think that are going to be bombs are actually turn out to be Hall of Famers. So that's huge. Losing 2 years in a row of your early round draft picks, that's huge. That's a huge loss. It's a major punishment, man. Now, they forfeited their place in the 2013 finals as well. They were 7th on the ladder that year. They forfeited it that year. They forfeited their finals appearance. They also, in 2016, won the glorious wooden spoon. They're going a pathetic 3-19. Pathetic 3-19 in 2016. What did they do? They turned that around in 2017 and became the first team since the West Coast Eagles in 2011 to turn around and make the finals after getting the glorious wooden spoon. Dead last on the ladder. That was pretty impressive to turn around from that. We had that in baseball here. 1991, we had the Minnesota Twins and the Atlanta Braves meet in the World Series. Both teams the year prior had finished dead last in both of their divisions. Dead last! And the next year they both meet the World Series. That's the only time that's been done, and that's been a long, long time. So I thought that was kind of cool that they flipped it around like that. So they did that in 2017, and they have, there was Coach Hurd was suspended for 12 months. That's what I was looking for. Suspended for 12 months. They also found 34 players that were guilty of taking these substances. Now, 12 were still currently on the Bombers at the time, but all 34 were suspended for 2 years. All of them. Gone for 2 years for breaking the rules and doing that. Now, why would I put a team that was under such a scandal in the Final Four? Why would you do that, Johnny? Why would you do that? See this symbol right here? Yankees have been part of cheating. Yankees have been part of getting players on the team that were high-profile players like Alex Rodriguez, who admittingly used steroids. We had the steroid era here in baseball where guys that were averaging, maybe some of them were averaging 10 to 18 home runs a year, bombing 50 home runs out of nowhere. 50 home runs. Boy, where did that come from? Guys like, like a Brady Anderson. 50 bombs, the guy doesn't even hit close to that. All of a sudden, everybody was hitting 50 bombs and 60. It was like it became ridiculous. So my team was part of a cheating scandals. They've been part of them before. They'll be part of them again. They've had cameras. They video. Listen. Every team in every sport has been a part of something. The only ones that get magnified are the teams that most people hate. So that's going to get magnified. The teams that don't usually win or aren't usually in anything, usually they get the same type of penalties, but it doesn't become like a nationwide thing or a countrywide thing because nobody cares about the team to begin with, right? But if it's a team that's known, it's going to get a lot of flack. A lot of flack. The Essendon Bombers wear red and black. I do like what I've seen from the team, though. I've watched a lot of their replays. I think they're a great-looking team. They're definitely in it. I like their colors as well. I like their colors. All my Final Four teams, I really love the colors on all these Final Four teams. So the Essendon Bombers, I know I went on, for you Essendon fans and Bomber fans, I know I went on and hit right in the ugly part of it, but, my teams have been part of things too. So I put them in the Final Four. It's a historic team. The team's won 16 Premiership Cups. I'm impressed by that. And it also seems like a team that's going to be turning it around soon as well. So Essendon Bombers are certainly in the Final Four. So we're going to move right on to who? Who are we going to move on to, guys? Who are we going to move on to? Of course, we're going to move on to the Brisbane Lions. The Brisbane Lions. Now, please, as a Final Four team, the Brisbane Lions, please correct me, because I've heard a couple of different things. Is it Brisbane Lions or Brisbane Lions? Brisbane Lions or Brisbane? Please correct me, because I don't want to keep saying it right or wrong. Obviously want to say it right. I just don't want to keep saying it wrong. So I used to say Melbourne. Remember I used to say Melbourne on a lot of my videos? I know it's Melbourne. Now. Okay? Is it Brisbane Lions or Brisbane Lions? I think it's Brisbane, from what I've seen in the comments. So let's see. Just tell me. Again, guys, I'm new. I'm entering my first AFL season. I'm not going to get it all right. I'm confident with about 80% of what's going on out there. About 80%. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot more to learn every day. Every time I watch game replays, I'm really impressed about how much I don't know. And sometimes I go into these game replays and I'm like, I know all this stuff. I know this stuff. And then I'm listening to the announcers. I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. I got to pause it and look it up on the spot. If I don't look these things up on the spot, or at least write it down while I'm watching, it's gone. It's out of here. So, who's the Brisbane Lions made the Final Four? The Brisbane Lions, what do you get when you cross a Fitzroy Lion and a Brisbane Bear? The Brisbane Lions! They merged together with the old historic Fitzroy Lions, who've been around since 1883. And the Brisbane Bears, I will continue to say Brisbane, assuming that's correct, were formed in 1987. So they merged these two teams together in 1996 and formed the Brisbane Lions, who impressively became the first AFL team to win back-to-back-to-back Premiership Cups. 01, 02, 03. They made four in a row. They won the first three, lost the fourth. That's freaking impressive. Then they nosedived for a while. They only have 3 Premiership Cups in their short history, so they nosedived. But I've been noticing an upward trend lately, an upward trend through my studying, an upward trend in the Brisbane Lions, coached by Chris Fagan. Let me make sure I got that right. Yes, Chris Fagan. Chris Fagan has coached them. He was assistant coach on the Hawthorn Hawks during the time that they were dominant, 08-16. The Hawthorn Hawks were dominant. So he was an assistant coach over there, Chris Fagan. Came over to the Brisbane Lions, took over. The first couple of seasons, they were 5-17. I think in both seasons, they were 5-17 in 2016 and 17. Then he started to turn this team around. They've been consistently in the top 8 and in the finals since 2019. Consistently there. This team is showing an upward trend. They're showing an upward trend. They've highlighted a couple of their players because they don't have too much history, but they've highlighted a couple of players. Chris Cameron was an interesting player. He's a sharpshooter, and he does trick shots, and he's known for being one of the only ones to consistently be able to stop Dustin Martin's what? Don't argue. The stiff arm. Don't argue. I love the call. Don't argue. I love it. I always told you guys before in one of my videos about Walter Payton. You see highlights of Walter Payton, you YouTube Walter Payton stiff arm. That's a class. He's one of the greatest at it in the NFL history. He's the GOAT running back of all time, Walter Payton. But he had the stiff arm. That's what we called it over here. But don't argue. I love it either way. That's awesome. But Cameron is the one that apparently that figured out how to stop Dustin Martin's don't argue consistently. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he's good at trick shot as well. Then you had the 21 Brownlow, the best player in 21 was, I hope I'm not chopping his first name up. Apologize if I do. Lachie Neal? I'm sorry if I chopped his first name up. Anyway, you guys should be used to that by now with me. But you correct me. I'm usually good at remembering the corrections. Anyway, he won the Brownlow player in 21. So you got another positive right there. And, oh, excuse me. And I'm not going to edit it out. It wasn't Cameron. It was this guy. Sorry. Jared Lyons is famous for stopping Dustin Martin's don't argue. Jared Lyons is the one that was famous for that. So I take that back about Cameron. Cameron learned under Eddie Betts. He learned under Eddie Betts, and a lot of people are expecting him to become the next Eddie Betts. See that? See when I try to go away from my notes and try to go off the top of my head and remember this stuff? Guys, I don't script this, man. I don't script it. I don't edit this stuff. I'm not trying out for any sportscast. I'm not trying out for anything. We're in the basement. I'm a fan speaking to fans. So when I make mistakes, I lay them out right here. We're all human. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. So, take that back. It wasn't Cameron. It was Lyons. Lyons is the one that famously stopped the don't argue. Okay? So, the fact that they have these up-and-coming, nice, great players, that's what I'm liking about this team so far. I'm liking about this team so far. He's turned them around, Chris Fagan. I like that. Their colors are maroon, blue, and gold. Maroon, blue, and gold. Brisbane Lions made the cut, guys. The 2022 ladder, they finished. I just told you guys, since 2019, they've been consistently on the ladder. So they finished sixth at 15-7. They finished sixth place, 15-7 on the ladder. Pretty impressive. So we have two teams in the Final Four that were below the finals, below the 8, and now we have one team that was in the top 8. Who could the last team be? I wonder. I wonder who the last team could be. You guys know who the last team could be? You know who the last team could be? I don't even really need to look at notes for this one. I really don't. You guys know who the last team could be? Who could that be? Who could that be? They wear black and white. Of course, the Collingwood Magpies. The Collingwood Magpies are the fourth team to make the Final Four. Why would they be in the Final Four? I can't imagine. Can't imagine why Collingwood would be in the Final Four, right? Can't imagine. 45 Premiership Cups they've been a part of. They won 15 of them. The last time they won one was in 2010. They lost it in 2011. They lost again in 2018. They've been around, since 1892. Yeah, 1892. I told you I didn't have to look much at the notes. I wanted to make sure I was correct on that. 1890. I've already made a couple of mistakes in this video. Again, I'm not editing my mistakes. You guys let me know when I make them anyway. You guys are awesome at making me know that. Anyway, Collingwood's been around a long time. As far as I understand, they have the biggest following. Now, what's so interesting about Collingwood? Oh, they have Mason Cox. Well, Johnny, you're definitely picking Collingwood because they got Mason Cox. Mason Cox is an American who learned the sport on the fly. He knew as much about the game as I did going in. He left a six-figure job behind in the States. To learn the AFL. And he went over there, and there was a lot of times, I did a video on Mason Cox. You guys, please check it out. But a lot of the times, people thought this was like some gimmick, or, hey, look at the American coming over here trying to learn our game. He's taking spots away from guys that were playing their whole life over here in Australia, trying to make these teams and trying to make these spots that should legitimately get more of a chance. I understand that. Sometimes gimmicks, leagues will do that. Teams will do that. I get that. Mason Cox has proved not to be a gimmick. He's proved to be an incredible player. Briefly, I'll tell you what, we do gimmicks over here all the time. A lot of players, and the players that have been working hard to get somewhere don't be able to take it. Some other guys taking their spot. Apparently that's the word. And that was the word on Mason Cox, where I wouldn't say the word hate, but a lot of people disliked him, or disliked at least the idea. Maybe not him personally. That I don't know. Where this isn't about Mason Cox. It's just the fact that he's on Collingwood, he's an American, and Collingwood Magpies are what? The most loved or hated team in the AFL. Who is that similar to? Yankees and the Dallas Cowboys over here. I'll throw the New England Patriots in there as well as being one of the most hated teams. But traditionally, it's really the Cowboys and the Yankees. Either you love them or you hate them. And what is it about teams that loved and hated? What is it about teams that are loved and hated? Why do leagues love teams like this? Because the fans that love these kind of teams watch for them to win. But who watches these teams more than the fans that love them? The fans that hate them. The fans that hate them will drop everything to watch these teams in the playoffs, in the finals, what have you, to lose. They watch it to lose because their whole day is bothered if teams like the Yankees, the Cowboys, and Collingwood wins. They don't want to see that. Boxers like Floyd Mayweather, greatest defensive boxer of all time. I don't care what weight class you choose. Floyd Mayweather is the greatest defensive boxer of all time. Why do people watch him so much? His fights aren't exciting. They're technical. They're good. They're not exciting. So why do so many people watch him? Because so many people hate him. They want to see him lose, and he never lost. He never lost. He was undefeated. He beat every top boxer in his prime. All of them. All of them. And people watch him because they want to see him lose. Those are the ones. So the Collingwood Magpies are hated, and people want to see him lose. People that want to see him lose. They are the biggest supporters of any team. Please correct me if that's wrong, but from what I've seen, it seems like Collingwood has the largest amount of supporters. Wow, the Collingwood Magpies, Johnny. Where did they finish? They were 16-6 on the season, and they finished fourth. They finished fourth on the ladder in 2022, 16-6 on their season. So, of course, they're always up there. They're more times than not always up there, just like the Yankees are always in it. They're always in it. So Collingwood was definitely going to be a part of the Final Four. You guys nailed that. You guys all screaming and yelling that, hey, Collingwood, 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 don't pick them. Pick them, Johnny. Don't pick them, Johnny. Johnny, pick them. Don't pick them. No other team was mentioned. Other people supported their teams, but no other team was mentioned as much as pick them, don't pick them of Collingwood. Before I even mentioned Final Four, everybody assumed because I'm American and Mason Cox is on the team and I'm a Yankee fan that I'm used to things like this. Of course I'm used to things like that. The Yankees are hated. You wear this jersey around other areas, man, they're hated. Oh, man, it brings all different types of attention, man. And I mean, from the casual fan, where does the casual fan go with teams like this? The casual fan will watch a game. Oh, wow. Collingwood's playing? I'm going to watch that. I'm going for whoever's playing them. Yankees are in the World Series. Yankees in the playoffs. I don't want them to make the World Series. I'm going for whoever they're playing. Whoever they're playing. Cowboys in the playoffs this year? I'm going for whoever they're playing. Collingwood brings controversy. I like that. I like that. That's cool. I really do. Guys, those are my Final Four teams. Hawthorn Hawks, Brisbane Lions, Essendon Bombers, Collingwood Magpies. I want you guys to sell me. Sell me on who I should pick. Sell me your teams. Again, guys, it's the 4 teams. I'm not picking another team. I've got it down to 4. So even if you're not a fan of these 4, please let me know why I should or shouldn't pick these teams. Let me know, guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. We got till March 16th. I'll let you guys know who I pick just before the league starts. Because I'm still up in the air on all 4. I'll be honest with you. I'm still up in the air on all 4. I really am. I'm still up in the air on all 4. But I dropped some clues on 2. Which 2? I don't know. There's two that I'm leaning toward more than 2 others. Out of the 4, I can at very least say 2 of the teams have a slight edge over 2 of the other teams. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Guys, you guys have been so great and so helpful in this journey of mine down the AFL rabbit hole. You guys have been incredible for me. You really have. The comments have been awesome. I know I don't get to all the comments. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with all the comments. But I do read a lot of them. I screenshot a lot. I've learned so much off comments. And most of all, like I tell anybody that's trying to learn one of the sports that I am a diehard fan of for all the years and decades, watch games, listen to the announcers, apply what you've learned to that. Because everything that your questions are right there. They're right there with the announcers. You see the play, what happened there? Boom. Or they mentioned a term that I've never heard before. I can pause it and look it up. What does that term mean? Oh, okay, now I get it. Now we can keep moving. That's the greatest way to learn this game or any game. Watch the game, listen to the announcers. Write down what you don't know. Guys, I'm new at this again, so please sell me. I'm sure I missed a ton of things on all four of these teams. But this is what impressed me the most about all four. Guys, let's do this, man. Let's do this. Sell me. Help me to figure out which team it's going to be. Help me. I'm counting on you guys, man, to help me break this down to be the team that I'm going to be with for life. The team that I'm picking is going to be for life. I am not switching. I don't switch off my teams. I'm loyal. Loyalty of fans is not as common as anymore. A lot of people go for players nowadays, and they do DraftKings and betting and whatever else. I don't do any of that. I don't sports bet. I'm not a sports bettor. I don't do it. I like the games. I just want to watch the games. So that being said, guys, please subscribe, bell notice, like button, comments. I'm Johnny Basement. I will see you guys on the next video. And Basement Squad Reacts. Go to Basement Squad Reacts. We got plenty of videos in there, and I've been doing some cold chisel. in there as well. That's me and my daughter's music reaction channel. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm Johnny Basement, and I am out.